just got my tea as well. So we'll begin with some breathing work, please. So coming into a comfortable seated cross-legged position. And I like to actually make sure that the ankles aren't crossed one on top of the other. I have one shin in front of the other, and it just actually releases the hips for me a little bit. So it's just a suggestion there. And then let's take our hands into a comfortable position, palms up or down, it's your preference. Maybe one hand on top of the other. And I want us to start with 5 minutes of breath work, please, this evening. So a soft gaze or closing the eyes. And just to get into alignment and awareness through the shoulder and neck, the back of the shoulders and the neck. Very gently breathe in and lift from your sternum, breastbone. And then roll the shoulders back and down. Now what I want you to think about is tucking your chin in, almost as if you're trying to give yourself a double chin. And it's as if the back of the head is trying to press back. So we're getting into this one neutral line through the back of the body. And then just see if you can gently release down into the lower belly and into the hip flexors, because we can, as we lean back, we tend to contract the transverse abdominals, the muscles of the tummy. So just see if you can soften them there. And we're working on the 4-6 breath count this evening, please. So in through the nose for the count of 4, 2, 3, 4. Exhale for the count of 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Smooth, deep breath. Inhale. Exhale. And as we just begin to concentrate on the breath and be still, just pay attention to how that makes you feel. If you feel a bit resistant to that, whether that's physically or whether you can drop down straight away into paying attention without getting too distracted. And clench the jaw. Continue to use that counted method, focusing on the inhale for 4 and the exhale for 6. So this is your breathing practice. Remember, it is just a practice and we're not trying to get rid of any thoughts. We're just trying to not let those thoughts disturb us or distract us. Okay, we've got 1 more minute here, focusing on that count of 4 as you breathe in, count of 6 as you breathe out. Good. Take an extra deep breath here, please. Breathing all the way into the body. Sometimes I get a little clicks, some little clicks through the spine as I take that deeper breath. And exhale, gently release. And when you feel ready, blinking open the eyes. We're going to move into our first position. So I'd like you to take your right hand behind your back into the indent of the left waist. And then your left hand's going to plant in a prayer position on top of the hand. Yeah. And then very simply, you're going to drop your left ear down to your shoulder. And maybe the eyes close. And we're going to start by getting that stretch through the right side of the neck. And we're going to be here for 4 minutes to begin. So I'll just set my timer. But if it feels too restrictive in this position through the hands, then you're welcome to change that. So you could release the left hand. And sometimes it's quite nice to hold the elbow. So just find that position for you that suits your body. And I don't want you to force that left ear down. In fact, the shoulders are really nice and soft. They're dropping away from the head. And we're just allowing gravity to assist us here. Now remember that this is our Yin class. So it's a very subtle opening that takes time, as opposed to wanting to grab the head and pressing it down. And I encourage that 4-6 breathing method throughout your practice this evening, or alternatively that soft ujjayi breathing if you have that in your practice. So we're just at 1 minute here, seeing the subtle changes through the trap muscle, the shoulder, the right side of the neck, as gravity plays its part and the left ear gently begins to drop maybe a little further towards the shoulder. We're all interlinked, remember, so keeping that lower jaw nice and soft, allowing the tongue to fall down into the space that's provided. Maybe the bottom lip slightly parts from the top. And we can still take those lovely deep breaths into the center of the chest, opening up. And there's a softness, a settling, a dropping down as you exhale. So we've got 2 more minutes here. You're into your 2nd minute now. Try and keep the focus on the breath. And it's really interesting with yin poses, how these such small movements can generate these huge responses. So first there is, over time, there's this physical response or sensation in the area of the body. And then that can spark an emotional response. And that emotional response can be something as simple as boredom, fear, releasing traumas, or it can go the other way and be elation, relief, calming sensation. So just really begin to tune in. Maybe there's nothing there today, maybe it's just the physical side of things, but just see. I quite often find that it just magnifies however I'm feeling at the time. You've got about 45 seconds from here. Let's begin focusing back on the breath. Focusing deeply on the exhale, that sense of relief as you breathe out. I'm going to take 3 more breaths here. Good. Now very slowly, slowly, begin to bring the head back to neutral, moving millimeter by millimeter. And then release the hands, take them onto the lap. And let's just sit here for a minute, tuning in to the differences from the left to right side. You might feel a little bit lopsided. Maybe one side feels a little bit longer or shorter than the other. Maybe the shoulders feel like one's high up and one's further down. Just pay attention. Maybe there's nothing there. And quite often there can be sensations or temperature changes. Quite often when we stretch or lengthen an area, it can feel cooler than the other side. So just pay attention. Release any frowning sensations between the eyebrows. Relax the muscles of the eyes. Okay. Take one more deep breath. Okay, let's go on to the other side from here. The left hand comes behind the back, and the hand is into the indent of the right side of the body. Interlink the fingers, or options, wrapping the hand around the right elbow. And then very gently, as you exhale, beginning to drop right ear down towards your right shoulder. Good. I think the beauty of Yin is really the simplicity of it all. You know, we really don't have to move so much, but it can generate so much more. And there's the belief system that our physical body holds emotions. And I really believe in this, because when we feel stressed, we all know our shoulders can seize up. And yes, it can be from poor posture, but perhaps that poor posture is an emotional response. So maybe we're feeling a bit vulnerable and the shoulders drop forward. And with that in mind, perhaps the muscles supporting the shoulders through the chest, the heart, hold some emotion. And quite often when we begin to open them up and relax the muscle, we can get these waves of emotion, or resurging emotions can appear. So you've done 2 minutes here now. Again, just check in with that lower jaw. And if anything is coming up for you this evening, please just use the breath and know that you are completely in control. And if you are unsure of anything, or maybe don't want to go down any paths tonight, then you can simply open your eyes and come out of position at any point. Norman Blair, who's an amazing Yin teacher, who I think I've mentioned before, always uses the analogy of, imagine your skin is like melting butter. Your muscles are like melting butter over the bone. And it always makes my body just go, oh, drops down. We've got about 50 more seconds here. Good. Let's take our 3 final deep breaths in this pose. Good. Again, moving millimeter by millimeter. Begin to bring the head back into a neutral position, releasing the hands from behind the back. Resting the hands into the lap, and again we'll take that minute here just to tune into the sensations of the body. It's time really to observe. Releasing that inner narrative that we have so often running through the mind. And just sensing and feeling what is actually happening. Good. Taking one more deep inhale, exhale here. Good, really nice. We'll just take the last pose in the seated position and hold it for 1 minute because it can feel a little bit intense. What we're going to do is take the hands behind the back, interlink the fingers, and then you're going to drop your chin to your chest and allow the chin to drop down, the elbows to hang either side of you. And for me, I can feel that immediately all the way through my neck and into the space between the shoulders. And actually, tonight I'm feeling it down into my middle to lower back. So if this is too intense, of course, you can release the hands and just have the head, the chin drop to the chest, or maybe one hand holding the head down. It's your choice. We've got another 30 seconds here using the breath. Take one more lovely deep inhale, exhale here. Good. As you breathe in, lift the head. Keep the hands interlinked behind the head, please. Take the elbows wide. Just to the counter pose, you're going to press your head back into the palms of the hands. You just tilt the chin up slightly. Just a couple of breaths here. Good. Drop the chin to neutral, release the hands from behind the head, and make your way down into a child's pose, please. So for this child's pose, my suggestion is that the knees are together on this one, just so we get a little flexion through the spine, and then it begins to work mild flexion through the shoulder joint as we drop the head down to the ground. Good. So let's just take a minute or two. We'll do 2 minutes here in our child's pose, our standard child's pose. If the forehead can't comfortably come to the ground, take a block underneath the forehead, please. You're beginning to experience the length of your spine, thinking about the glute muscles, the bum muscles drawing down over your heels. for 30 more seconds here. Good. And for our next position, we're going to take the palms of the hands together and then bend the elbows and send that prayer behind the back of the head. Now, if you're already familiar with this pose, you can intensify this by taking blocks underneath the triceps, the back of the upper arms. If you'd like to try this, please go ahead. We're going to be here for another 2 minutes. If you're not sure what I mean, it looks like this, taking the blocks underneath. So my elbows are hanging over the edge. My head drops down. And my hands are behind. Of course, if this is too intense, then taking the hands out in front of you, and you can stay in your child's pose with the arms lengthening. Your choice. Good. 30 more seconds here, please. Using the breath, very subtly beginning to work into the triceps, the shoulders, the chest. Really, this whole area is all so interlinked. Okay, one more deep inhale, exhale, please. Lovely. Lengthen those arms out in front. Come back to that child's pose. And when you feel ready, gently make your way to tabletop position. So we're going to come into a pose which we're going to hold for 4 minutes on each side. And what we're going to do is we're going to thread the right arm underneath the body and allow the chest to drop down on top of the arm. So quite often in this pose, we open the chest and look up. But this time the chest is trying to press down on top of the arm to work into the internal rotation. And then the left arm comes forward and the head drops to the ground. So for me, my right ear has to come down. I can't have my head facing towards the ground, so it's my right ear. And I'm working on dropping the left shoulder down to the ground. And then the other point that you have to think about in this pose is trying not to overarch your back. So it's a case of drawing the belly button up a little bit. And we're going to be here for 4 minutes. So where we're working on the right side, it's the posterior deltoid, so that shoulder muscle at the back, and it's coming across the body. So we're working a very mild internal rotation. And then on the left arm, as we're reaching forward, we're getting flexion through the left shoulder. Good, so this one can feel a little bit intense, so the breath is important. If there are points of the body that are feeling pressured, other than the shoulders and around the upper part, so from the waist up, i.e. the knees or the feet, then please take a cushion or blanket underneath that body part. And in Yin, it's this sense of releasing, that melting butter. So in our dynamic yoga, we're contracting muscles and holding for a long time, 5 breaths. And in Yin, what we're trying to do is relax those muscles. So we're trying to do the opposite of contracting, so that we begin to get into the fascia, the interconnective tissue, and the tendons and ligaments around the joints. Quite often, particularly in the upper body, the shoulder joint, ball and socket joint, is this hugely mobile joint. It's got such an amazing range of motion. and it can be really limited based on the muscle, but also the tendons and ligaments. So it's really important that we get into each area or each layer of these bodies, these incredible bodies that we have. So we're on 2.5 minutes, so you've got 1.5 minutes left. And for me, this yin practice, it is physical for me, but I always just drop into the emotional state all the time, how I'm reacting. And I encourage you to observe that. Part of the yin process is to observe out of the prefrontal cortex at the front of the head, where we make decisions and plan, and into the more creative, responsive, emotional part of your brain, where your memory is stored. We have 50 more seconds here. You're doing really well. So think about that left shoulder, if it can release any further towards the ground now in your last 30 seconds. Good. Take one more lovely deep breath here. And very slowly draw the left hand back towards the body, plant the palm to the ground. Unthread the right arm. And it's up to you where you want to go for your minute rebound pose. You can come back into the child's pose if that's comfortable. I know sometimes child's pose doesn't feel comfortable, so the other option is to lie onto your belly, creating a pillow with the hands and taking rest lying flat onto the stomach. Because we are working the shoulders a little bit, if you want to take the arms beside the body if you're lying down, then that's also a nice option. Good. Lovely. Just take this time. Just slow down. We've got these busy lives, looking after others, families, work, all these areas of our life where people need things from us. So it's really important that we learn to accept and take some time for ourselves, to really begin to understand ourselves and our responses to situations. So let's take 3 more lovely deep breaths here. And when you feel ready, making your way slowly back to a tabletop position on your hands and on your knees. So we're going to do the same thing, but on the other side now. So I'd like you to take your left arm and thread it through. So again, just set up here. So for me, my right shoulder needs to drop down and my chest comes across and sort of weights down onto the arm. So we're working the internal rotation, getting that posterior deltoid. And then the right hand comes forward. And I have to drop my left ear to the ground. And then I have to suck up my belly a little bit to reduce the arch in the back. So just remember that although we're doing one side and then the other, they can feel incredibly different. And in Yin, we're asked to really recognize that and really respect that. So just because we can get a certain depth in one side doesn't mean that we have to do it the same way on the other. So it's really your choice. So once you find that position, allow yourself to drop into the stillness of the pose, avoiding the temptation to make any unnecessary movements, if that can be seen as distraction. And then tune into your breath and use this time to observe. In Yin, I often find that there is these elements of fear of being able to let go in a pose. And it really brings up this restriction and fear. So just be aware of that and know that that is your nervous system responding to stretching. And over time, and as we begin to open the body, the nervous system sends signals from the part of the body to the brain, back and forth, saying that we are safe, that we're relaxed, and slowly after time, we can begin to release it a little bit further towards its end range of movement. You've got just under 1.5 minutes here. Using that breath to breathe through not only the pose, but anything that may be going on for you this evening. Perhaps you need to begin to let go of. Just be present with whatever arises without any resistance. You've got 45 seconds. Use your breath. Good. From here, let's take 3 more deep breaths. From here, slowly, well done, unpeeling the body from the pose and making your way into your round rebound position, either a child's pose or lying down onto your belly. The arms can be forward or reach the arms beside the body, palms facing up. It's your choice. We'll take 1 minute in this rebound pose. Just observe now. Allow yourself to fall into that silence, reducing the temptations to make your way out of it. Just allow yourself to really begin to be here. That sense that there's nothing to do. Being okay with that feeling. We're slowly going to make our way into a pectoral release from here. So you're going to stay onto your bellies. And what we'll do is take the arms beside the head. The right arm is going to, if I'm lying on the floor, my right arm is out to the side in a 90-degree angle. And my left hand comes underneath the shoulder. And from there, my head looks to your left, or to my left, to your left. And my right ear is down on the ground, and my head is really heavy and relaxed. Bend the left knee. And then you're going to press the left hand into the floor and roll the hips open to the side. And for this yin pose, I like to bend both my knees up towards my chest. And so I'm beginning to open up the right pectoral muscle. So the key points to remember in this one is that that right arm is at a 90-degree angle, palm faces down, and the left hand is underneath the left shoulder. So bend your left knee, press the hand into the floor and roll open. And this should be quite intense. Good. And then maybe bend the knees up towards the chest so you're on your side. So that left foot's not coming behind. Well, it can if you prefer. It can come behind you, or, so I'll just do it again. Opens up, and then I bend my knees, place them one on top of the other. Good, and you should feel this nice and strongly through the right pectoral muscle, so that the front of the chest into the shoulder, beginning to feel it down the arm. And we're going to do a minute and a half on each side, so you've already done 20 seconds on this one. You've actually done a little bit longer, but I didn't start the timer, my apologies. Relax your head to the ground, let it be soft. Remembering about the releasing and relaxing of the body. Good. And this is a really lovely one to do, particularly if we have been working on computers, and or maybe our emotional state has been a little bit low and the shoulders, or we don't want to be seen. It's that feeling of the shoulders rolling forward. What happens anatomically is that muscle, that pectoral muscle, becomes short, and we also house this interconnected tissue, fascia, at this area, and it's a really thick fascia point here. So that's why this one can feel incredibly intense very quickly, because we've got this thick fascia, and then this tight pectoral muscle also gets shorter if you do lots of push-ups. So you're going to take one more deep inhale and exhale here. And then slowly, slowly make your way out of position. And we'll come into a minute's rebound. So for me, I like to come out of lying on my front and come into a child's pose, or maybe even a downward dog for a minute, but it's your choice. Maybe upward facing dog, you know, to stretch out, whatever it is. Please just allow yourself to feel the way your body wants to move instead of me telling you. Good. You've got about 30 more seconds wherever you are this evening. Yeah, lovely. Good. Take the breath. 15 seconds here. And you're ready, making your way back onto your bellies. And we're going to go on to the other side. So now your left arm is at the 90-degree angle. your right hand underneath the right shoulder. And then you're going to lie straight onto your belly with your legs behind you, and then bend your right knee, open up to the side. Yeah, good. And then maybe bend both knees now up towards the chest, resting one on top of the other. And we're going for 1.5 minutes. And you should be able to feel this nice and strongly through your left pectoral muscle. Emily, are you okay with your head? Okay. So just tune into any resistance through the physical body. See if you can identify where the feeling or sensation resides, maybe where it starts in the body and where it ends. And does that sensation change if you breathe in slowly and deeply against breathing out? How does that sensation shift or change around? You've got 30 more seconds in this side. Taking your last deep breath here. Slowly, slowly, making your way out of position. And again, it's your choice how your minute rebound pose or movement goes. So you can stay on your belly, release, relax, come into a downward dog, cat cow, whatever you want to do here. So you may, for some of us, we may want movement as the rebound pose. For some of us, we will want stillness. There's no better or worse, or right or wrong. Just see where your body wants to move in this minute, or rest in this minute. Lovely. We've got about 20 more seconds. Good. Taking your last deep breath in this movement pattern here. And when you feel ready, you're going to lie onto your backs, please. So if you need any extra layers at this point, if the body temperature may have dropped, please get blankets, socks, jumpers, whatever you need. And we're going to work on the internal rotation through one shoulder and then the opening through the other. So what we're going to do is lie onto our backs, but the position we're going to do, which you'll all be familiar with, is this position, but we're going to be on our backs, okay? So to get into that position, we'll start on the right side. You start on your back, and you're just going to roll over to your left side a little bit, bend your right elbow, and tuck the hand underneath at the center of the back, the center of the spine. Palm faces towards the floor. And then if you can, eventually, to increase the internal rotation through the right shoulder, you would wiggle your hand up towards the center of your shoulder blades, okay? So that's option one. You choose whether the hand is at the middle back or is going up towards the shoulder blades. Working the internal rotation of the right shoulder. Then the left hand lifts up overhead. You can keep that arm straight overhead if that feels as far as you need to go. Otherwise, you bend the elbow and take the hand. Option 1, cupping the back of the head. Otherwise, wiggling between the shoulders and the head can jut off to one side. It's really your choice. If the left hand doesn't feel right being behind the head, you can just leave it beside the body. We're going to be here for 3 minutes to begin. So again, for me, I don't instantly feel this one, but it takes time for that internal rotation in the shoulder, because what's really happening is we're beginning to work or stretch or lengthen the tendons and ligaments at the back of the shoulder. The trapezius gets a mild stretch, the posterior deltoid, and then we're rotating the tendons and ligaments around on that front side. So take your breath, accept the position of your body today without needing to force or push. Maybe acknowledging that you don't need to change anything here. You don't need to improve. Where you are physically today is okay. And perhaps that sensation can widen into your life. Where you are at the moment is okay. What you're doing is enough. Just notice how the body feels with that level of acceptance. Allowing this time to maybe start healing any of those old wounds that we're still carrying around. Any of those unhelpful stories that always seem to arise. Acknowledging that you don't need to change a thing. Got our last 15 seconds in this pose. Now from here to begin, slowly unpeel the left hand from behind the head. Then you're going to roll a little to your left, releasing the right arm from underneath you. Good. And then I want you to think about just lifting the arms out and taking them, imagining you're like a cactus lying on your back. Yeah. We'll take a minute rebound here. Soften through your lower back, through your glute muscles, through the lower body. And let's take one more deep breath here. We'll move now on to the other side. So this time the left hand is going to come behind the back. And it's your choice how far up that palm wants to come towards the shoulders. So just find that position first of all. Then once you're ready, the right arm is welcome to stay as it is, otherwise extend it up. And then tucking it, either cupping the back of the head or wiggling it down towards the shoulders and releasing the head to one side. We've got another 3 minutes here. Remembering to use that breath just tune into the fingers of the hands, unclenching, ungripping the palms and the fingers. Allowing the top arm to begin to rest. Perhaps if that top elbow is lifted off the ground, as we relax the muscles, it begins to drop ever so slightly down to the floor. Allowing the neck and head to gently drop into whichever position it falls into. And can you soften the shoulders? You have 1 more minute here. Last 20 seconds. When you're ready, slowly releasing that right top arm. Rolling onto your side, releasing the left hand from underneath you. Good. And then taking that cactus arm shape with the hands once again. We'll come into our minute rebound here. Good. From here, release the arms beside the body. Lengthen the legs to the floor. If there's any lower back issues, please, you're welcome to keep the knees bent or take something underneath the back of the knees. Add any extra layers. We're moving into rest from here. Allow the breathing to fall back to its natural rhythm. And you may want to listen to what I say, or you may just want to drift off. Either is absolutely fine in these last few moments. But perhaps if you're working with anything at the moment, perhaps beginning to identify with an emotion or a state of mind that you are struggling with right now. And if something is very apparent to you, take a moment and sense into your body, where that feeling is living in your body. And how does it feel at this point? Take as much time as you need. You don't even need words to describe it. Just feel what you're feeling. Perhaps scanning through your body, head, toe, torso, muscles, heart, lungs, gut. Allow any guarding of emotions to just melt away. Revealing any emotions that might need support right now. If anything's come up, maybe begin to ask yourself, your body, what you need. I need a rest. I need some support. See what comes up. Maybe there's something there this evening which you can identify what you need support with. Maybe there's nothing there tonight, that's okay too. Let's use this last minute to really breathe through anything that you need to breathe through. You're welcome to stay here if you feel that you need longer. Otherwise, slowly begin to take some deeper breaths back into your body. Generate some movement through your fingers and toes. Maybe gently sway this head from side to side a little. And when you feel ready, bending the knees, coming onto one side, and making your way up to seated. Taking the hands to prayer. Taking a nice deep inhale and exhale here, really sealing in the benefits of your evening's practice. Namaste. Thank you very much. Well done.